right now that we do patent items that are unique and that we are willing to go to battle to protect. But on the ruler front, it's very difficult to patent a measuring device. It's very hard to find.
All right, so in the middle of the interview, we had a little bit of a sound problem. We went from one way of recording to another, and so she's a little bit fainter in the second half of the interview. Again, so I can see. All right, so where were we when the internet rudely interrupted us? And
we were talking about rulers and the inability.
Yeah, right. So I went to Quilt Market for the first time this year, and I was amazed at the ruler craze, where every single company is sort of, it's like with a pattern they add a ruler, or like they're just like ruler madness. And I'm wondering if you've seen that over the years developing. Like, there's too many rulers right now is what my feel.
Absolutely.
It's craziness.
What we always say here is there's a lot of good basic rulers. Those are the workhorses.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you use every time, all day. But then as we see trends change in the industry, and I'll give you a great example of this. One year we went to market and we saw hexagons everywhere. Every quilt, every pattern company, every fabric company had these gorgeous hexagon quilts. But there's no good way to cut them. We went back to the drawing board and we said, how can we make one ruler that cuts 10 different sizes of hexagons? So times we're inspired to do new product development based off what we see in trends. Now, if you think about it, quilting shapes have not changed. There's always strips, there's always squares, there's always triangles, there's hexagons, there's Dresdens, there's diamonds. But that's about it. For like millions of years, it's been the same shape. So as the trends change in what's popular, like you probably didn't see hardly any Dresden blades at market in October.
Right. It's true.
But you saw other types of trends. We come up with specialty rulers that help make those trendy things easier to do so that people will tackle something that's a little bit out of their comfort zone. And we always say, if you can help them finish a quilt with a professional finish result quickly and accurately, you're going to keep that customer, because so many of us are working moms. We don't have a lot of time. So the time we do have, we want to make sure that we're being efficient and we're making progress. I mean, quilting can be so time consuming that if you make the hard stuff easy for people, you'll find that they will enjoy the hobby so much more. And we also know that there's a lot of people that struggle a little bit with the math part of quilting.
Yes.
So if you can make that easy for them by how a specific ruler works, that's even better. I totally agree with you that there are too many rulers in the market, but it is come about because rulers are augment fabric sales. They're kind of the bread and butter that keep the lights on in the store. Fabric is sometimes you don't need to buy that much of it, or you're dipping into your stash and then you're buying a few things. But the rulers, make money for quilt shops and make money for the chains. And so every time a new trend comes along, yeah, you're right. There's a new ruler that goes with it.
It's really interesting. What I sort of, this is my hypothesis, and again, I'm kind of new. This is a new project. It's only 6 months old. But this is my guess, is that what I saw was pattern makers were making rulers to go with their patterns. And even people were saying, somebody just asked me if I could, if we could make a ruler to go with this book. And it seems like this kind of thing of consumable. So the pattern itself has a hard time staying protected because, someone sees it. But if you make them buy a ruler, that's another revenue source. And it seems like it's supplementing the pattern makers so that people buy the pattern and the ruler. That's my thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And who doesn't win? The quilt shop wins. They get the sale. They get the fabric. It's all one concise project. And
Yeah.
It's all right there. Everything you need is right there to make XYZ pattern. And, patterns don't cost that much money. They're $9. So you got to sell a lot of them. So if you add something of value to it,
Yeah.
it beats up the sale.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah, and I think it makes people feel like they're doing something in a way that they may not need the ruler to do what they're doing.
No, they absolutely don't. You can pretty much cut anything with a straight 6 by 24 inch ruler. You really can. But there are easier ways to do it, and it isn't any different than my husband who has 4 putters. I mean, he cuts the same. I got to tell you, but he has to have the latest and greatest technology. It's our hobby. It's what we do.
Yeah. This is so interesting. So, okay, so the products are so cool, and really, we could talk about them all day. See, this is what happens is we start to talk about things. I'm like, I want to know more about that. Like I'm looking at the hexie ruler. That looks really interesting. I do like hexies. They're fun. So what is your strategy then for all these products? First, how do other new products get developed? Are they developed in-house? Do people come to you with ideas? Sort of what happens? How does that happen? Because you have 120 products now, right?
No, we've got over 300.
You've got over 300. Oh my gosh. Okay, so so how does that happen?
Okay. As I just said, I walk market. We get inspired by things. We develop everything internally.
You do.
Everything's done inside. And there's things that trigger ideas. For example, we now have, I'm going to say, 50 products that are called Quilt As You Go, sew by number. And I was looking all over Pinterest at what people are posting, and it became very obvious to me that there are still so many entry-level quilters out there. People that want to get involved in quilting, but they're not going to be able to take a class. They just want to give it a try. And I kept going back to that concept as a kid where we did paint by number. And I thought if we could do sew by number, it would be super easy for people to learn this and get hooked on it. We have screen printing capabilities here at June Tailor because we screen print rulers. So we took some quilt batting. We make fusible batting, which is another big intellectually property of ours, is fusible batting. It's batting that has adhesive on the front and the back that's activated with the heat and steam of an iron. That's a patented line of products for us. So we have batting in this building. Mm-hmm. I said, can we screen print on it? Never tried that before. Well, guess what? We can. Now we actually screen print the pattern right on the batting.
It's really cool.
I'll give you a really quick synopsis of how this works. You take a backing fabric, you press it on the back using fusible batting, or you can use a quilt basting spray to attach the backing, and then you sew the pieces. You cut up the pieces according to the directions, and you sew by number.
Is it like...
When you sew by number, you have all 3 layers being sewn at one time. So instead of piecing the top, layering the quilt,
that's really cool,
and then doing your quilting, you're actually doing every step at one time. And so you're just taking the workload and cutting it into a third. Or
and it seems like, I'm looking at them right now online, and it seems like what you're doing is it's kind of paper piecing with the batting and the backing, right? Is that kind of what you're doing?
Exactly.
And
exactly, but with paper piecing, you still end up having to, that's just to get the top done. You still have to layer it and do all that. We're doing it right on the batting.
Oh, that's really cool.
So one time, and that quilt is done. So you talk about making a quilt in a day. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we also, when we
really
started
interesting.
this, we did quilts, and then we went to a smaller scale and started doing little mug mats and placemats. But the mug mats are the ones that are really popular to hold your coffee mug and maybe a Danish. They're like 8 by 10. And we do little patterns for those using basic cuts. You can make one in about an hour. And so if you can give somebody a project that they can finish in an hour and it looks great, you're going to interest them in this hobby. And that's what we want to do. We want people to be loving quilting.
That's really interesting. That's very interesting.
And we want them to have a really good result.
Yeah.
If they can follow a simple seam line, they can have a perfect product.
All right, so I still want to try this because I can see the brilliance of it. I just tried to do, my goal of the next 2 years is to do each quilt. I try to quilt every night and make something I've never done before. So people send samples and stuff, and I just want to experience everything. So I've been doing Quilt As You Go for the first time, and I'm kind of falling in love with it because it's so satisfying. But this goes even further. So I'm kind of, I don't know, I always quilt when I'm really tired, so I'm not always very accurate. And this is awesome because it does do the paper piecing.
Would you like me to send you a set of the mug maps?
Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love to experience it. That'd be awesome because this is when my kid first started. We started quilting with my daughter when she was 5, and we started with paper piecing because it's so satisfying. She could make a little elephant or an owl or whatever, and it's so great. So you can see like a beginning quilter or any quilter actually would love it because it's so precise. How many, when you do, so I have a couple questions. So on the practicality, how much, so the other thing I really like about this product is, again, it's consumable. So in terms of like, I did the Quilt Smart quilt. They sent me a sample of it. Do you know the Quilt Smart with the interface stuff? I did a double wedding ring for using their stuff. And what's cool about this is that so many pattern people are freaking out because people are stealing their stuff. It doesn't really matter. The pattern, people are going to have to keep buying the batting. Like to do this system, they just buy more of it. There isn't, the intellectual property issues kind of go away, at least from the consumer side. No one's going to copy it in terms of, they're not going to download it and try to put it on batting themselves online, right? Just the average person. So I really like consumables, and this is an example of it, I suspect, for you guys too, right?
It is, and again, as I said, there's a lot of loosey-goosey guidelines. Fabric has to be changed 20% in order for it to be a new design. What is 20% on a fabric design? I mean, this is a very difficult industry to not copy when the shapes of quilting have stayed the same for years.
Right.
I mean, it's a very, you must see that when you walk the show.
Yeah. Well,
everybody says there's
yeah.
nothing new in quilting.
Yeah.
It's still all the same stuff, but what's changing is the fabrics and the patterns and how we do it.
Yeah.
And, that's the fun part. There's
yeah.
always some new, new angle to it. No pun intended.
Yeah, no, but it's really, it's very interesting. So did you put how do you protect your Quilt As You Go material? Again, is it the trademark? So what's the IP behind Quilt As You Go?
There isn't any in Quilt As You Go. Again, you're screen printing a pattern onto something.
Yeah.
It isn't patentable. It isn't, the only thing we can do is copyright the design.
And that's not going to be that big a deal because it's just squares. It's a little bit, tiny bit of production.
Yeah. We have a pin machine called Pintastic. It's an automatic pin dispenser. That has a patent. Our fabric cutting kiosk that cuts people's fabric for them, that has a patent. Those are things that are worth intellectual property. Some things aren't, and we make that decision when we introduce the product, and we say, this is one where I think we can, talk to our IP attorneys, and this is one where let's just bring it to market.
That's really interesting.
We always feel like if we can get it to market and it's got a great price from the get-go, then we're a small company. We have very low overhead. If we can keep these products nicely priced, and it's a fair game out there.
That's really cool.
And for people to copy, it's going to happen. I mean, I've been at this 24 years. It used to be so upsetting, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I suspect that it's your brand that is going to distinguish the product. That people may be willing to try Pintastic because it's June Tailor. And that's the strength of the brand that matters when other parts of IP aren't going to protect your product.
Absolutely. People say, June Tailor, I know that's going to be good.
Yeah.
We make most everything here in Richfield, Wisconsin. This is not it's 92% of our products are made in this factory right here by Americans.
That's really cool.
This is a woman-owned business. It is, we have all those good things going for us, and people are supportive of that.
That's really interesting. Very interesting.
before we end the conversation, you'll have to email me or give me your address, and I'll send you some of the tools that I think are more unique.
That would be so great. And what we'll do is we'll do a follow-up.